Mrs. Ibe from Nigeria. I am an educator. I am a content writer and also a tech enthusiast. So everything about tech gives me so much joy. I'm so much interested in everything about tech. Whatever it will take to introduce our kids to tech in a very early stage is what I am seriously passionate about. And I am so glad and privileged to have you. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello, how are you?
This is Sheikh Husniya, a sixth grader. I would like to ask you one question, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
What are the 10 things you should know before coding?
Okay. The 10 things you should know before becoming a coder is this. One thing about coding is that coding requires a lot of critical thinking. For you to be a coder, you must have a critical thinking ability, meaning you should be able to analyze problems. You should be able to solve problems. Now, let me give you a practical example using a website. For instance, if you say you want to be a coder, maybe you want to be a developer who develops websites, and a customer comes to you and say, okay, I need a website that can be able to get the details of my customers. For every customer that visits my website, I would like to have their details so that I can be able to reach them afterwards. Now, what do you do as a developer? What do you do as a coder who is into web designing? What you simply do is when your customer is talking about the problem he is having, in this case, your customer just told you, or your client just told you, okay, I heard you know how to build websites. Okay, now this is the challenge I'm having. For every customer that visits my website, I am not able to get their details. And as a result, I lose out on them. I lose out on follow-up. So what do you do? As a coder, you begin, just as your client is talking about the problem, deep down in you, you are beginning to analyze that problem to know where you are going to bring in a solution to make sure that your client henceforth doesn't lose out on customers. So in that case, for you to be a coder, you must have a critical thinking ability. That is one. So that the more people are relating their problems to you, you are already thinking, okay, how can I solve this problem? How am I going to solve this problem of my client? Okay, now he said he is losing out on customers who come to his website. What do I do as a coder to make sure I add a form? In this case, what you need to do is to add a form that can be able to get all the details of the customers who come to that website. So now you need a critical thinking ability. You need a problem solving ability. I need a problem solving ability to be able, the more people are talking to you about their problems, you should be able to think about how do I bring solution to this problem? Because the truth is, this coding we are talking about is actually a way of telling the computer what to do. You give the computer instruction on what to do by way of coding. So you should have a critical thinking ability. You should have a problem solving ability. You should also have a logical thinking ability. Now, what that means is ability to allow your thoughts to flow logically. You should be able to flow sequentially. Where you need to put a button, you put a button. Where you need to put a form, you put a form. Because in this case, this is what you want to achieve. And for you to also be a coder, you must be very good at planning. The truth is, before you create any website or before you carry out any project in coding, you must think about it. You must think about it. You must plan it in such a way that the moment you start running your code, everything will be flowing sequentially. Another thing is that you have to be patient. You must be very, very patient. Why are you going to be patient? It is not every time that you run your code that your code will work. Your code will not always work. Always have that at the back of your mind. Your code will not always work. But when you have patience, you always want to know, okay, why is this code not running? You now go back, go to your code, check your line of code, and then know where there is a problem so that you fix it and then test your code again so that it can run. But because there are times when you run a code, you test it 2, 3 times, 4 times, it is not running because a single error in a code can make that code not to run. Where you're supposed to put a full stop, if you put a comma there, it can make your code not to run. So if you don't have patience, you may really want to back out as a coder. So patience is very, very important. Another thing is ability to collaborate and network with other people. Now, from the example I gave to you, coding language you need as a starter is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'm not going to go deep into it. But then these are the basic that you need to be able to be a coder or be a developer. You need to have a knowledge of HTML, you need to have a knowledge of CSS, and you need to have a knowledge of JavaScript. There are other languages, but for the basis, this is what you need. And the truth is, these things I'm telling you, they are very, very simple. They are very, very simple. If you can go to school and learn how to read, definitely you can how to code. What coding needs is your attention. You have to put your mind to it. And remember that whatever you put your mind to, you will be able to achieve. Another thing you need as a coder is attention to detail. You must have a very strong attention to detail because you must be very, very discreet about your code. When your code is not running, it is only attention to detail that will make you know that, okay, this is where the problem is coming from. This is why this code is not running. This is why this code is not. So you might not be able to know why your code is not running, and it could make you to want to back out, but you don't need to back out. Always have patience, have a critical thinking ability. And another thing you have to know is you need to be able to experiment. How are you going to know? Experiment. If you don't experiment, what do I mean by experimenting? By doing. Run a code. If you write a code, you need to run it. The only time you know if your code is going to work is when you run it. So the more code you write, you run and know where the problem is coming from. So basically, these are some of the things you need to know. You need a basic knowledge of a coding language. A basic knowledge of a coding language. You need attention to details. You need to be patient because of a truth. Coding requires patience. If you're not patient, you would want to back out. You need to be patient. You need to have a critical thinking ability. You should be able to know how to plan. Whatever project you want to carry out, be able to plan it out, keep everything you need in a file or a folder, and then the moment you start running your project, you just have to copy and paste and then fix it all. Thank you.
Thank you so
Did
much
I
for
just
your
answer your
elaborate
question?
explanation. I think we really like this explanation because we are not used to this coding concept. Many of my students are completely new to this particular demanding subject. As we know, we have realized that this particular coding subject is currently is a demanding one. Thank you so much for your elaborate explanation. Sahiti, over to you.
Yes, sir. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
My name is Sahiti, a 6th grader. I would like to ask a question, ma'am.
Go ahead.
What computer program do people use to write code?
Okay. For you to be able to write or run your code, there is something we call code editors. We call it code editors. Code editors are softwares that are used to write your codes. They are very simple softwares that I use to write your code. So some of the softwares or code editors you can use to write your code is, one of it is Notepad, Notepad++. Notepad++ is one of the softwares you can use. Another one you can use is Atom. Atom is also a software, a code editor you can use to run your code. Another one is Brackets. We also have Visual Studio Code, and then we have NetBeans. There are others, quite a lot. But the only thing you have to do is just choose the one that works best for you, and then you are good to go. Is that okay?
Yeah, I am in ninth grader. Would you allow me to
Okay.
ask a question?
Sure, I will. Go ahead.
What is the need of learning coding in this 21st century?
Okay. Why we need to learn coding in this 21st century is because now, how do you feel being in your country and then communicating with me in my own country? How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? Are you not happy that you do not need to leave your country to come over to my country to listen to me, to see me, or to hear me talk? I know you are very, very happy. And then one of the reasons why you need to learn coding is because coding helps to enlarge your thinking ability. Coding helps to enlarge your thinking ability. It makes you a problem solver. Remember when I talked about a client coming to meet you, okay, this is that. Just as you're communicating with a client, you are already thinking, how do I come in? How do I solve this problem? And now at the end of the day, if you are able to solve that problem for that client, or you are able to build a mobile app that is able to solve that particular problem for that client, I know you'll be very happy. Imagine a situation where we are using this Zoom application to have a conversation. Zoom application is the brainchild of a person. Someone thought about it. Someone made it work. And today we are using it to communicate from different parts of the world. This is the brainchild of someone. Now, why do you need to learn how to code? You need to learn how to code because you don't need to only be a consumer of other people's application. You also need to be a creator. You need to be a creator so that you can create applications too that can solve problems, applications that people all over the world can use to solve problems. And how would you feel if, just like this Zoom application, people all over the world are using your app to do a lot of things to solve their own problems? I know each time you see people using your app to solve problems, I know you'll be very happy. So that is one reason. You need to learn how to code so that you can be a creator and not just a consumer of technology. Another reason why you need to learn how to code is that coding, apart from the fact that it makes you a critical thinker, it also makes you a creator and not a consumer. Another reason why you should learn how to code is that coding has diverse opportunities for you to change your financial status. When you know how to code, you can use it to earn a whole lot of money. You can use it to learn a whole lot of money because when people come to you, I know you're smiling. Is it the money that is making you smile? So you use it to make a whole lot of money because why? The best way for you to make money is when you solve problems. You keep solving people's problem and then they are paying you for that problem you are solving. Once you see that you're going to be making much money, you're definitely going to be making much money. Now, technology is taking over the world. People are coming around. People want to put their businesses online. People want to put their products and services online. If you know how to do some of these things associated with technology, For instance, someone wants to create an advert, an animation, and they come to you and say, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Do you know how to do? You say, oh, very well, I know how to do it. Okay, what will it take me? What will it take you to do it for me? You said, okay, $10,000, $20,000. And then the person pays you the money. And this is something you can do in 2 weeks or within a month. And you are done with that. And someone else comes, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want. And you keep doing it for people over time. Don't you think you're going to change your financial status? You need to learn how to code because technology is the end thing. And the best way for you to make it in life, in any point in time, is to key into the trend. That particular thing that is trending, for now, technology is what is trending. Key into it. And the truth is, it will keep evolving. It will keep getting new things will keep coming up. So you need to learn it so that you can be part of those who are making a means of livelihood from it. You can be part of it because you want to increase your critical thinking ability. You can be part of it because you want to increase your logical thinking ability. You cannot be a coder without your brain. Your mind will always be sharp because a lot of people will always come to you. I want to do this, I want to do. As they are talking, your brain is already thinking of how you are going to run a code or so that will solve that problem. And the moment you keep solving problem, I tell you, money will always be flowing into your accounts. Are you good to go?
What are 3 skills a coder might need to have?
Okay. The basic skill you need to have as a coder, I've said it before, most of these questions are interrelated. I said that the basic skills you need to have, one is planning. You must know how to plan. You must know how to plan. Let's take, for instance, if you want to run, I'm always using a website because it is something that is quite relatable. If you want to build a website for a client, the first thing you do before even opening your code editor, remember I told you that your code editor is that software you use to write your code. Before you even start opening your code editor to start writing your code, the first thing you will do is you need to plan all the images, all the videos, all the content you need to create that website. You need to put them in a folder. You put them in a folder because for you to even start using a code editor, the first thing the code editor will ask for is your folder, the folder you want to do this, to do the work, the folder you want to use to carry out that project. That is the first thing the code editor will ask you to open, especially VS Code. If you're using Visual Studio Code, the moment you open your Visual Studio Code, which is your code editor, the first thing it will ask you to do is your folder. It's either you open a folder, and the folder is where everything you need to work on that website is saved. So your images are there. That is the pictures you need. If you need videos, you put them there. All the content you need for that website are there. And now, in this case, the moment it is saved in your folder, you now open your VS Code and then open it, and from there you start running or writing whatever code you want to write. So in this case, you see that planning is very, very important as a coder. You need to know how to plan. If you don't plan before you start whatever project, you will see that you will be stuck on the way. If you're trying to be say, let me do this thing very fast, so that definitely, because you did not plan, you will definitely go back to square one. So learn to plan, put all your folders, your images, your content, everything you need to run your project. Make sure it is properly saved in a folder so that the moment you need it, you just go there, copy it and paste. Another thing you need is, I've talked about critical thinking and problem solving ability. You must be a critical thinker. Very, very important. The truth is, coding is just like any other subject. Coding is just like any other subject. Very, very simple. The moment you put your heart to it, you can be able to achieve it. Now, sometimes your friends come to you, your friends have challenges, and then they come to you and they say, oh, I have this challenge, I have this challenge, I have this challenge. What do you think? How do you think I can be able to solve it? And you, after listening to the challenge of your friend, you begin to tell your friend, okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. Aren't you seeing that you're solving a problem in that instance? The moment you start giving people solutions to their problem, it requires critical thinking. You must think critically, and then you must ensure that whatever you're saying, your ideas must flow logically. It must flow sequentially from one stage to the other, from one stage to the other, until you get what you want. Another thing you need is patience. I've always told you, patience is very, very paramount as a coder. In fact, you need to wear patience the way you wear your clothes. Patience should be like a second skin. Do you know why I keep emphasizing on patience? Is this: your code will not always run the way you want it. Your code will not always run the way you want it. So if you don't have patience, you can back out. You said, no, I've been working on this now. What's the problem? What's the problem? Why is it not working? It's you need patience. And so in such instances, when you are stuck and it's as if you have gotten into the brain, what do? I'll advise you leave whatever you're doing for the moment and then go, just leave it for the moment and go take a chill pill elsewhere. Just relax yourself. Or sometimes I can advise you to play a very cool music so that as you're coding, you can also be playing your music, because it helps to ease tension. If you know that music you like listening to, you can be playing it on a very low key. You need it. And I was also saying your code will not always run. Have it at the back of your mind, because the moment you know that, it will help you. Your code will not always run the way you want it. But then when you have patience as a second skin, it will help you. And then remember, attention to detail, because when you write your code and run it and it did not give you what you want, you begin to think, why is this code not running? Another thing that comes in handy for you is attention to detail. You now have to go back to your code. When you go back to your code, you begin to check your line of code. All the lines of code you have written, you start checking on it. Where did I get it wrong? Where did I get it wrong? Because I tell you of a truth, if you skip putting a full stop where you're supposed to put a full stop in your code, it can make your code not to run. And you keep checking and checking over and over again, and it's not running. You can decide to say, okay, please, I'm backing out on this project. I don't want to do it again. But with patience and attention to detail, you can be able to debug where this problem is coming from, and then you fix it. The moment you fix it and you try it again, if the code runs, there's this kind of happiness you get inside of you, because you have seen that, yes, I've been able to cross this hurdle, and then you will see that you'll be very, very happy. And it also spurs you to take next step, because once it is working, you are motivated to take the next step. And the more you take steps, the more you are getting closer to your goal, and the more you are getting proficient in whatever you have chosen to do.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is
you.
Nagalakshmi, a ninth grader. My hobbies are reading books and playing games. Can I ask one question, ma'am?
Sure, you can.
Do I need to be good at math to be a developer?
No, you don't need to be good at maths to be a developer. You do not need to be good at maths to be a developer. In fact, anybody can be a developer. The only thing you need is interest. Your interest is the basis. For you to be a developer, your interest is the basic thing you need. Once you have that interest and you are determined to put in the time, you are determined to put in the time, you are determined to stick to your goal, you don't need to be no math. The truth is, I do not have I studied business administration in school, but now I am a coding instructor. Why did I become a coding instructor? Because I saw that the trend, I saw where the trend is shifting to. I am also an educator. I am an educator, but then I saw where the trend is shifting to, and I decided to key into it. Now, what I do is I teach my students how to code. I teach them the way technology is changing the world. I teach them how to integrate. I integrate technology into my classes to ensure that we can be able to meet up with the trend. We don't need to be backward. We need to see what is happening, bring in and then dive our attention into these areas that are workable so that we are not left behind. So the truth is, you do not need to be good at maths. You do not need to have it. What you actually need is a basic knowledge of maths. And do you know that in fact, every time of the day, you even apply arithmetic without knowing it. When you go to the market to buy things, you are given money to go to the market, you buy things, you take your balance. For you to be able to even know your balance, the right balance you're supposed to get after getting something, means you have a basic knowledge of mathematics. Is that not true? So
do all the Nigerian students spread across your country learn the coding in their secondary schools?
Okay, you know, coding is a concept that is gradually gaining ground. It's a concept that is gradually gaining ground. So I would not say absolutely all schools in Nigeria are already doing coding, but I can tell you that a handful of schools are already keen into it because they know that coding is the future. If you can be able to be using other people's applications, today we are using Zoom, we have WhatsApp, we have Facebook. All these things are the brainchild of someone else, a human being like you and I. So why not ask yourself, if these people can do this, why can't I do it? Okay, what does it even require for me to be able to do what they are doing? Now you have known that it's a knowledge of coding. Do you understand? It's a knowledge of coding. So for schools who have bought into these ideas, I tell you, they are running with it because they know that tech is the future. Tech is the future. And then if you know you want to be following up on trend, for you to remain relevant as a school, as a teacher, you must be able to follow up on trends, to know where to fit in, and then to explore in order for you to advance in your career.
Yes, I have a last question actually. So my kids actually, unfortunately, we don't have coding as part of our curriculum. Can my students learn the curriculum using the YouTube apps? And is there any YouTube platform where my students can learn the basics of coding? Because coding is, as you have just briefed, that it's gaining popularity all over the world. Because most of the job opportunities depends on the coding skills. So
Yes.
can my students learn the coding basics using the accessibility of the YouTubes?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. When you go to YouTube, you see a lot of resources there. YouTube is a university of its own. It's a school of its own. There is absolutely no resource you would not find on YouTube. The only thing you need, like I keep saying, is your interest and determination to put in the work. That's what you need. Once you have the interest, once you are determined, once you're ready to set a goal and ensure you work to achieve that goal, you are good to go. And I tell you, there is nothing worthwhile that is easy. There is nothing worthwhile that is easy, but with dedication and hard work,